Over the years, it's safe to say that I've backed the wrong horse on quite a few different occasions. Growing up as a child, I can remember us having both a Betamax and a Laserdisc player at various different points. I really thought that pre-recorded mini-discs were going to be the future of music, and I've mentioned in a previous video that my first computer was an Amstrad CPC. Now, whilst I loved all of those things, none of them turned out to be huge runaway successes, certainly not the forerunner of their technology. In the case of the Amstrad, it did pretty well, but it still wasn't a particularly well-known computer outside of the UK and France. So my second home computer I didn't fare any better with. It was one of these. An Atari ST, which was lovingly lent to me by my brother. As I understand it, my dad didn't quite understand the concept of lending, and eventually when I wasn't playing with it, he sold it, which was a shame because my brother wanted to get it back and do some MIDI recording a bit later on. Now, this isn't the Atari ST that I had at the time. This is one which I have got from eBay. You can see it's got a very nasty case of yellowing, and I will get some retro bright on it at a later date, but that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to fix a few minor faults that this unit has. Now, it works perfectly. It is in decent working order. There's a little bit of damage to the casing. The floppy drive has seen better days. You can see it is a bit wiggly there. Putting discs in tends to be sort of a bit hit and miss, which I think is just because not all of the screws are in the case. And for some strange reason, two of the keys are stuck down. Well, they're not even stuck down. I think there's just nothing, because they don't press, there's just nothing there that makes them bounce back up, which I think is, again, another quite easy fix. So we're going to take this apart and have a look. I'm also going to do a little bit of upgrading as well. So here we have the ST in all of its glory. I'll turn it the right way round so that you can all see. So there is the machine. I've already taken the screws out. So you've got a number of screws at the bottom here. If you've still got the original warranty sticker on, which you can see there, there are couple of screws hidden underneath that, and you've just got, it's just standard Phillips screws. You don't need to see me take screws out. Top of the case then just lifts off like this. Ooh, now this is quite cool. In here we have got, first of all, we've got a loose floppy power connector, which does explain why the floppy drive isn't working properly. But yeah, we've got this. We've got an MP210A module, which is a memory adapter for the STFM. So the STFM didn't have upgradable memory. Later STE did. It just took just regular SIM memory modules. This has an upgrade put in so that it can take additional memory. So normally you'd get an 512K STFM, and that was all you would ever get. But with this, we've got an extra, what is that? We've got an extra 512 in there, so that's 1 meg. So, tell you what I'm going to do, actually, is we might need to jump cut. Actually, it is a slightly different way to it, I see. So you put them in and then push them down like that. Okay, that's a bit better. Now that doesn't quite fit there. So that's good. That causes a slight problem. We'll need to, just shift that around a little bit. That'll be fine. I might move that. Right, next thing then is, let's have a look at this keyboard. Now it's plugged in with a little connector here, which leads down onto the motherboard here, and there is a plug there which comes out, and then exposes the keyboard, which I can see has already been, well, this has obviously been opened once, so somebody's done something with it, because you can see it's actually been repaired with parcel tape. Well, not repaired with parcel tape, it's just that there's the underside of components here, and they would otherwise ground themselves on the case. So Atari just had some plastic film over the bottom of the keyboard, but it's been replaced here with parcel tape, so I can tell somebody's already opened this once. So we'll put the main unit to one side, grab a screwdriver, and we'll get to work. Oh, sorry, Dizzy. We'll get to work on the keyboard. Again, it's just a case of a few little screws. They are very small screws, so do be careful. You can also see terrible decision here where Atari decided to directly connect these mouse connectors straight onto the board, and you have to plug them in at a weird 45-degree angle, which means that it's generally a very bad idea to use an Atari ST without having tiny little extension cables on there, so that you didn't move your machine around and rip the bloody things out. The electrical shielding comes off, or magnetic shielding I should say, and the whole keyboard comes up, and of course many of the little things here are stuck to the board. Oh, somebody's made some kind of modification here. Yeah, that is interesting. Right, now let's have a look at our keys. The ones that are stuck down are these two. I'm going to just leave the little rubber cups in place. The two that are stuck down are, yeah, this one and this one, the left and right bracket keys. So obviously whoever's been in here before has at some point managed to lose some of the rubber cups because they're not on the board. Or actually, have they? Let's just have a quick look. I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ones that have got stuck and I'm going to put them back where they would have gone. Now this one here, this was always weird. There's a socket there for a rubber cup, and there is actually a section on the board where that rubber cup would go. You can see on the board, actually if I lay the board out in the way it would be against here, you can see that there is a cup where that would be, just there, those two. However, there was never a rubber cup in there, and I can only assume that this is because the Atari keyboard is standard and is probably just slightly rewired for every region. It's the only sort of logical conclusion that I can come to. And that's why, yeah, that's why there's one that doesn't connect. There was another one as well. If you look on this bottom row, there are 14 different contact points on the bottom main row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 30 down there. So if you open up your ST and you find that there are 2 missing caps looking at the contacts, that's not the case. You don't need one there. There isn't a key there. But you do need some there, otherwise those things will do exactly what they were doing for me. Something that I've actually noticed whilst filming as well is that this LED here, or there should be an LED there, but it is missing. That is the power light that tells you when the ST is on. Obviously, the complete absence of sound and picture is usually enough to tell you that an item is turned off, and a presence of sound and picture is usually enough to tell you that it's turned on. But nonetheless, I would like that to have an LED on it again. So I've got an LED here that I have cut to size already. There we go when the camera focuses. We're just going to solder that straight down. So it's surface mounted on the board, so you want these as short as possible legs. Positive is closest to the edge of the board where the cutout is, and that's negative there. So pretty sure that is the right way round. Because of course normally with LEDs you can tell which one's positive and which one's negative by the length of the legs. Because I've cut these, they're now both largely the same size. I'll have to do just carefully bend that so it is straight up, and then we'll just go through that little hole there. Not quite, it won't. There we go, nice green light. Of course, you could use any colour you want. If you want to change the colour of the LED, you could do that. I don't. I'm quite happy to have it the original colour, so just left it as it is. And then we'll just screw that back together. We've actually got quite a few missing screws. I'm sure I had more than this initially. None fell on the floor, so unless... No, there are. Well, that's as many screws as I've got, and it's all nice and firmly, so that should be fine. So we'll just flip it upside and just double check all of the keys still work. There. Absolutely fine. Right, so that's as we want it to be. Yeah, so that's that. Right. So the next thing I want to do, we'll pop the keyboard to the side, is tackle this floppy drive. Now, it's a bit wobbly. I mean, it wasn't actually connected in properly as well. But the main thing that I want to do is just take it out entirely. And I'm actually not going to use that. I'm going to pop in this. This is a Gotek. It is a floppy drive which uses not actual floppy disks, but a little USB stick there, so I can connect in as many ROMs as I would like. So I've zoomed in a little bit so you can get a better idea of what we've got here. So we've got the original cable on the ST, at least on the STFM. That's actually hard soldered into the board. It's just a standard floppy cable, but it's also very short. You can mount your Gotek internally, and it will fit just fine. However, the bit of plastic on the casing doesn't quite fit over it, so you'd have to ditch that. And for it to be properly flush, you'd actually need to drill little holes in the casing. I'd rather not do that. So what I've done is I've got this little extension board here. It just extends the power cable and the floppy cable. And I'm just going to mount this straight on, and then we're going to just feed the cable through here. There we go. Right, so those are going out. So we are going to pop that onto there. So we want to match up the red. We're going to match the red line here with the red line here. The cable, if I remember rightly, is upside down compared to normal cables, but of course you can do it however you want because ultimately you're the one in charge of it. Is it going to be easier then to do? Hang on. Let's do it this way round. I think it would, to avoid shorting anything out. Right, I'm out of electrical tape, so I'm just going to do what the previous owner did and just use some ordinary sticky tape. I'm sure somebody will be along in the comments shortly to tell me exactly why I shouldn't. But frankly, I don't really care. I'm honest with you. See, if I was refurbishing this for somebody else, or if I was going to be selling it or something like that, then I would be doing a much neater job. But as I'm not, all I'm really worried about is making sure that this isn't going to short circuit on anything. So for that, a little bit of sellotape is absolutely fine. There we go. That is as neat as it needs to be. A little bit there to keep it in place. It's mainly that little power connector that I'm worried about. It looks like that would come off quite easily if I'm not careful. Also not sure if it's going to be in the way where I've put it of the keyboard. We'll feed that through. We'll see what happens when we put the keyboard back. No, I think it might be alright. Let's have a look. I think that should be okay. So the keyboard connector, you'll note there is one blocked pin, and on the motherboard there is one missing pin. So just match the two up. You can't put it in the wrong way because of that blocked pin. If it doesn't go in, don't try and force it. It'll be that you have put it in backwards. So it's a gentle bit of force. That goes back there. Keyboard goes there. And yes, those cables are causing a little bit of consternation too. I think that should be okay. Let's just get that back in position. Yeah, that's all right. Once the case is on, that should be absolutely fine. We'll poke those down there. So they're out of the way. So we've got our memory upgrade. We've got the cables for the Gotek. That'll just plug straight in. Afterwards, we've got two keys here, back as they should be. So all I'm going to do now is pop the casing back together and give it a test. So there we are. We're done. We've got the Atari ST here. We've got the Gotek hooked up to it. Everything is screwed back together. I've also gone over it with a few antibacterial wipes, pulled all the keys off with a keycap puller and given them a clean because, quite frankly, it was filthier than your mum, and we all know she's filthy. Let's power this on and we have a white screen. I'll set the Gotek to boot into a disk. There we are. It is working. You'll note the shiny, super bright green LED now telling us that it is turned on, which it wasn't previously doing. There was just nothing there. So Gotek has booted up. Drive A, as far as it's concerned, now contains sysinfo. So we're going to run that. It's been set to boot to the ST's medium resolution, hence everything looks a bit odd. And then let's have a look over here. Yep, we have got Bank 0, 512 kilobytes. That's the onboard memory. And then in the adapter there, we've now got 2 meg showing for a total of 2.5 meg memory. And that is more than any game would ever use. If I was going to use this for Cubase, then I'd probably want to disable the onboard memory and put 4 meg in there. You can't have 4.5 megs. If I put 1 meg sticks in there, it just wouldn't boot. So 2.5 meg is the maximum that you can go by, because you have to have all the same type of memory slots as well. So you can't put in 1 meg of 512 sticks and 2 meg of 1 meg sticks. It'll just treat them all as 512 sticks, so you'll be in the same position as you are there. So that's fine. We've got 2.5 gig of memory. We've got a working Gotek. We've got a nice clean unit. We've got the LED, the keys back as they should be. So these two here are now not permanently pressed. And we've got the Gotek unit that's permanently hooked up. Screen's turned off there. But I can set that to boot. I've got 100 odd different games in there. Let's just pick something out of here to show you what we have. Let's find something interesting. So we've rebooted the ST and it boots into, it's obviously a cracked version. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit so you can hear the lovely music on this game when the camera decides to focus. Look at that. And this is plugged straight in with an RGB SCART cable into the TV, so it's the best possible picture that you can get from an ST. And there's that lovely bright colour palette that the ST had. I was always fond of that. And it does look quite crisp and clear, doesn't it? And there we go. Turn that down a little bit because that's quite loud. Programming Ian Copeland. The top 10 scores: Ian, Tink, Paul, Mandy. Music by Adam Gilmore, isn't that lovely? Oh. Yeah, techno version, kind of. We'll cover this game in a little bit more detail at a later date. But for now, all that's left to do is say thank you very much for joining me. I have been Dominoid. This has been another hardware repair video, and I will see you again soon. But of course, until next time, thank you very, very much for watching, and goodbye.